Hi everyone. This is going to be a fairly quick video going through some recent library hauls which I've made during August 2023, including one book which I've already finished reading and plan to review. In the near future, I'm kind of disappointed. I'm having to redo this whole video all over again because for whatever reason there was like a huge snafu and QuickTime just would not let me save it no matter what I tried. So hopefully this will be a success. And let's start with this one, Love by the Book. This is the third and final book in the Ladies of Summerhill series by Carolyn James. These are Christian historical romances. When I was going through the stacks and found the second book in the series, I obviously quickly realized from the synopsis it was a historical romance, but I didn't realize until I started reading it that there are also Christian historical romances, and that was, a totally blank slate for me, that subgenre, and I ended up really enjoying it. I did a recent video reviewing the first two books in that series, Love Love on a Dime and Love on Assignment, which I really liked. I would highly recommend this, and please go check out that video if you haven't already, because I'm really disappointed nobody commented on it after all that effort I put into it. And guess what? Because someone yet again put a sticker over the synopsis at the library, I had to pull the synopsis up on Amazon to read it for you guys. A sweeping love story set in a lavish seaside mansion in 1901 Rhode Island. Melinda Hollister is a society lady intent on finding a rich husband before her peers discover her quickly diminishing wealth. Nick Bryson is all business, focused on making a name for himself in his father's teamship line. Despite the marriage of their siblings, they rarely gave each other a second glance until a tragic accident results in Melinda and Nick being appointed as co-guardians of their 3-year-old niece, Nell. In order to get better acquainted with Nell and one another, Melinda and Nick agree to spend the summer in their own private quarters of the Bryson family vacation home, Summerhill. As their love for Nell grows, so does their attraction to each other, and for the first time in their lives, they sense that God has a bigger plan in motion. Yet old habits die hard, and Melinda and Nick each find it difficult to resist the pull of their former worlds. When the unthinkable happens, they find themselves faced with seemingly impossible choices and a new understanding of God's true love. And I found a little snafu early on when I was just starting to read it last night. The prologue, it says it starts in January of 1901, but then we get to chapter 1 and it says July 1902, and we're being told 6 months have passed. So seriously, someone goofed behind the wheel. I don't know if that was like the editor or one of the fact checkers or whatever, but that was kind of a shocker to see in a traditionally published book. And this is the one which I have already finished reading, Grace from the Rubble by Jean Bishop, Two Fathers' Road to Reconciliation After the Oklahoma City Bombing, the untold true story of Bud Welch and Bill McVeigh. Here is the synopsis. In what was the deadliest attack on American soil since Pearl Harbor, the Oklahoma City bombing is now remembered in a long line of violent attacks that have left communities across the nation searching for healing and hope. With the soaring message of the power of love to conquer evil, Grace from the Rubble is a remarkable journey of two men who, though destined to be enemies, forged an unlikely bond in the wake of terrorism and tragedy. With eyewitness accounts, this true narrative tells the intertwining stories of 4 captivating individuals: Julie Welch, a young professional full of promise, and Tim McVeigh, the troubled mind behind the horrific event. Bud Welch, a father whose only daughter, Julie, was murdered, and Bill McVeigh, the father of her killer. Masterful storyteller Jean Bishop describes the suspenseful scenes leading up to that fateful day and the dramatic events afterward, as one father buried his daughter and the other saw his only son arrested, tried, and executed for mass murder. This poignant narrative is rich with memories and beautiful descriptions of the nation's heartland, a place of grit and love for neighbors and family. Bishop tells how murder affected her own family and led her to meet Bud and Bill and witness their extraordinary friendship. With compassion and hope for all who have been touched by tragedy, this story proves that the astonishing power of forgiveness is possible for us all. And the Oklahoma City bombing happened when I was a freshwoman in high school, 15 years old, but I just didn't really know much about it until now, because it was just one of those things. I mean, I know this sounds absolutely horrible as an adult looking back with complete cognitive development, but I was, for a long time when I was younger, I was of the mind, oh, if it doesn't personally affect me, or if it's not, about a place in the world or a subject that already interests me, I don't want to, learn much about it. I don't really care about it. Can we please get back to normal life now and like start reporting on other news. I know that just sounds so absolutely horrible, but again, that's kind of how you think sometimes when you're younger. You just don't have like any perspective, and that's why cognitive development is not complete until we're about 25 years old. And I found them these two books when I was at the library yesterday. I also found the Love by the Book there. I said I was going to get it through interlibrary loan, but it ended up being at that library. And obviously, since James is the last name of both of the authors, I found these when I was browsing the stacks. And I absolutely love cats. There are about 20 books in this series, and a lot of them have cute, fun plays on like famous songs and films, like 12 Angry Librarians and Careless Whiskers. Just really cute and fun. And this one particularly grabbed me because of the cute little kitties under the Christmas tree. 6 cats a-sleighing. Charlie Harris and his Maine Coon cat, Diesel, are busy decking the halls for the holidays when an unexpected delivery and a shocking murder conspire to shake up the season. December 25th is right around the corner, and Charlie is making his list and checking it twice. He is doing his best to show some peace and goodwill towards his nosy neighbor, Jerry Albritton, a real estate agent who seems to have designs on his house, and maybe on him as well, while preparing for a very important role, indeed, his first Christmas as a grandfather. The last thing Charlie expects is to gain several new additions to his family. Charlie finds a box on his doorstep with 5 kittens inside, and a note begging him to keep them safe. With Diesel's help, Charlie welcomes the tiny felines into the Harris household, just as Jerry decides it is time to throw a lavish holiday party. Determined to make her mark on Athena in Mississippi, Jerry instead winds up dead at her very own party. Though attempts to dig into her past come up empty, Charlie and his girlfriend, Helen Louise, witness 2 heated exchanges involving Jerry before her death, one with a leading citizen and another with the wife of a good friend. Will one of these ladies wind up on the sheriff's naughty list? Charlie and Diesel have to wrap up the case before the special season is ruined by a sinister Scrooge. And obviously I showed you guys, this is the other book which I got. If I like them enough, I will be reading through the whole series. As I think I just mentioned, there's about 20 books in it so far, and I believe she is still currently adding to it. In Athena, Mississippi, librarian Charlie Harris is known for his good nature and for his Maine Coon cat, Diesel, whom he walks on a leash. Charlie returned to his hometown to immerse himself in books, but taking the plunge into a recent acquisition will have him in over his head. Lucinda Beckwith Long, the mayor of Athena, has donated a set of Civil War-era diaries to the archives of Athena College. The books were recently discovered among the personal effects of an ancestor of Mrs. Long's husband. The mayor would like Charlie to preserve and substantiate them as a part of the Long family legacy, something that could benefit her son, Beck, as he prepares to campaign for the state senate. Beck's biggest rival is Jasper Singletary. His southern roots are as deep as Beck's, and their families have been bitter enemies since the Civil War. Jasper claims the Long clan has a history of underhanded behavior at the expense of the Singletarys. He'd like to get a look at the diaries in an attempt to expose the Long family's past sins. Meanwhile, a history professor at the college is also determined to get her hands on the books in a last-ditch bid for tenure, but their interest suddenly turns deadly. Now Charlie is left with a catalog of questions. The diaries seem worth killing for, and one thing is certain. Charlie will need to be careful, because the more he reads, the closer he could be to coming to his final chapter. Includes a bonus short story, When Charlie Met Diesel. I absolutely love cats. If you can't tell by now, I help with taking care of a bunch of community cats, and when I was a lot younger, I wanted to be a veterinarian, but I ultimately decided against it because I just don't think I could emotionally handle having to put an animal down. That's just not something I would want on my conscience, or an ethical, dilemma, even though it might be the right thing. And I also saw this at one of the other libraries. I believe it was on one of their special displays. I think it was, it's a new book, 14-Day Loan, Deconing the Stars, a modern astrology guide to discover your life's purpose by Allison Scott. And this is so much more than just that vague generic sun sign crap you see in newspapers and women's fashion magazines. As I've said so many times, real astrology is about the full house, houses 1 through 12 on the wheel, who's ruling your house, what signs, and planets. And some sidereal astrologers even count minor planets and stars and asteroid belts and stuff. And some astrologers also consider Ophiuchus and one other sign that begins with the letter C. I don't know it off the top of my head, as 13th and 14th astrological signs. And so this book is going through, like, for example, rising sign, ruler in the first house, second house, like moon in whatever sign you have, like the sun, your sun sign and your rising sign, and just like all sorts of like really interesting stuff many people don't like aren't aware of when they're like bashing astrology, because they just don't know how deep it really goes. And I might even get a copy for this myself, because you can, like, fill in all these, like blanks. They have like special charts, as well as your like astrological chart to fill in, like, the big wheel and like who's ruling. I have it printed out somewhere from Aster Dienst all the way back in 1997. Yes, I am that old, and it was completely free. It's been years since I've seen it, but I do believe it's still around somewhere. But obviously, you can just hop back online and get a new chart drawn up, because obviously, like, your birth data doesn't like change at all. Like, who's in your houses and your like astrological rulers and descendants and ascendants and degrees and stuff that doesn't change. Like, for example, like rising sign ruler in the fifth house and the sixth house, and they have like several like astrological charts of famous people throughout the book, like Albert Einstein. Like your moon house, moon in the first house, sixth house, like just really really cool. Your houses of substance, the midheaven, your second house, the just what houses of substance, air, like the elements. This is just like so really cool and complex. I absolutely love astrology. I discovered it when I was 13 years old, and I've been like basically hooked ever since. And this is the final book which I got out. This is like a huge coffee table book. No Day Shall Erase You, the story of 9/11 as told at the National September 11th Memorial Museum. I'm sorry if the light isn't as good as it was. It was a lot better when I was filming the first version of this video that, just like had a huge snafu. And this has really like moving pictures of all the artifacts and stuff at the museum. Like, for example, like this one, you can see I was holding up different random pictures I flipped to in the first version of this video. And when I lived in Albany, New York for many years, and it would probably not be an exaggeration to say I went to the New York State Museum in downtown Albany like close to 1,000 times, because it was free admission. It was also directly on the bus line, so I would often go there before or after work, before I had a car and I was still like using the bus, the public transportation, to commute to work. And sometimes we would, I would just go there, but just because I wanted to. Or when I was working at an Orthodox summer day camp, we would always, every summer, we would take the campers there for one of their field trips, because it was just, like so familiar and stuff like that. And they have an exhibit, and they have a permanent exhibit about New York City history in one of their wings, and that includes now an exhibit about 9/11 and the World Trade Center. Like, for example, they have an entire fire truck there that was damaged, and like artifacts like salvaged from the debris in a piece of one of the tower walls. So it's a very moving exhibit. I do highly recommend that museum. It's like I've been there so many times I practically know it by heart. And like, who doesn't know that museum practically by heart if he or she lives in Albany, New York? And I did mention I recently read the book 102 Minutes about the struggle to survive inside the World Trade Center, and I will be doing a video about that book coming up very soon. This is a book which I recently read, and I will be reviewing it in a video upcoming very soon. And if you like missed my recent blog posts and video mentions, I've been doing a lot of research about 9/11 recently, because I skipped ahead 3 years in my handwritten magnum opus Cinnamon. This is actually typewritten, but I mean not computer typing, not handwritten, which is a big change since to cover the 9/11 part of the story. So I've been obviously like reading a lot and watching a lot of documentaries and stuff like that. And this book was part of it. Like, I was absolutely shocked at some of the things about, like, there was like a horrible fire safety in there. They deliberately like left out fire stairs and a fourth set of stairs, and like putting the stairs like at like farther apart in case like of fire damage or inability to get to the stairs or being damaged. And like that was just a horrible, like they were putting profits above people. It was just obviously, of course, the terrorists have like 100% like the number one blame, but like even way before this happened, when they were designing and building the building, they were just thinking about, oh, how can we squeeze as much capitalist profit out of this as possible, and like just put making money over the actual people's lives who are working there. It's just so effed up. And so I'll look ahead to that video. And thank you guys very much for watching. If you haven't already, please consider subscribing and leaving a like. And particularly, I like seeing comments from you guys, because it lets me know I'm not wasting my time, and people actually care about me and my content. So I will see you soon, very, very soon. Thanks for watching. Bye.